Greetings, brothers and sisters. Lots of stuff to get to. Biles is back, wins bronze. She wins bronze on beam. She's a bronze winner. She's Lebronze. She went from the GOAT to Lebronze. Bunch of stuff to get to. A He-Man story. Some other stuff. I have a whole JoJo Magoo thing to do with his with Hunter Biden about crack. But let's start here with Simone Biles. This story hopefully has come to an end. This is the front page of Huffington Post. And then they have this as well, right? I'll treasure this one. Here it is. I'll treasure this one a lot more than everything after everything I've been through. She's going to treasure that bronze more than the golds, more than the $10 million, more than being called the GOAT. She's going to like that bronze on the beam. She got a bronze on the beam. Let's see how NBC covered this.
Vanna, what a night. It is a good night.
Team USA, USA, USA.
I mean, Simone Biles
she did it.
Delivered, honey. She did it. It was remarkable.
She did it. It was remarkable. The bronze. She got third. She got third on the bronze. She's the third best on the bronze. She's the third best on the beam.
She came into the competition. She got a bronze medal on the balance beam. By the way, SG, that final just wrapped up. I was in the audience with a whole bunch of people who were watching. We were all, it was like.
She got over the McTwisties right there. You can see a whole bunch of people were watching. She was up there not doing, she didn't have the McTwisties anymore. She got the McTwisties, and then now they're gone.
Watching, we were all, it was like we were all nervous wrecks, but we got a little video. We wanted Simone to know that we were there rooting her on, and
because they're impartial news media people rooting for the GOAT Simone Biles to get the bronze on the beam.
She and Suni,
she put up some hearts or some Illuminati thing here. Who knows?
Were down on the floor. It was really cool. But by the way, SG, right now, they are on their way over here in a van. The whole crew.
They're coming in a van. They have a van. It's a bronze van for getting the bronze.
The whole entire gymnastics
I hope you got him a police escort so they can hurry. And I swear I was watching live. I swear I saw someone look up at you, Hoda. I know she gave you
She looked up at Hoda and said, we did it. I got the bronze. She got over the McTwisties to come and get the bronze.
It's a wave.
Oh, she did. She was so sweet. And I was, she was nervous, but she's going to come here and tell us all about it. She did it. She did it. She did it.
So, like I said, I would have expected she got the gold, but I guess maybe the Olympics didn't cooperate with her or whatever happened. My brother, when I talked to him the other day, he had said that she hadn't been training because she was just, living the good life on the $10 million of profits and endorsements and really didn't come into the Olympics prepared. So this is what that was about. I don't know. There's always going to be lots of different theories. But, the way they played this narrative out, because they're definitely pushing something, the mainstream culture, and that is it's okay not to be okay. Which, and I guess that's okay, All right, that's not the worst possible idea out there. But that means so much more because it's really saying it's okay to be broken. And people who are broken should get extra compensation and extra care and extra whatever, right? The celebration of the broken. It's good to be broken. And the problem with that is it never comes back to the system itself, right? The system. The whole system, the economic system, the social system, the culture is broken. It makes broken people because it's unnatural, it's ungodly. I've talked about this in my years working with the DSM-4, now the DSM-5. There's no diagnosis in the DSM-4 or 5 that blames the system. You have pretty much everybody in America, throughout the world, but certainly in America, that could have some sort of psychological diagnosis in the DSM-5. If you go to a therapist or a counselor, psychologist, whatever it is, right? and they have to get insurance payments. So they have to come up with a medical diagnosis, right? They can't treat you unless you have something wrong with you. That's how the system works. And so they have to diagnose you. And the best thing that you can have is called an adjustment disorder. This is what I used to use because it's the only thing that's, it says it's temporary, right? It doesn't label you for the rest of your life with some psychological diagnosis. It's it's temporary. And so it's, you're going through something hard, stressful, and you're having to adjust. And I don't know if that's available anymore. But everything else in there is some sort of psychological problem you have. But it's never the system's fault. It's your fault for not being able to function in a way that's, functional, right? And then there's the global assessment function, and it rates your ability to function in this wonderful system, what I call the beast, right? It's graded on 0 to 100. Nobody gets 100, right? And so, but it's never the system's fault. And so it's okay to be broken, but it's not the system's fault, right? People are supposed to pamper the broken. And that's the message they're sending. And that's not organic. Whatever happened here with Simone Biles and this whole thing, whatever went on here, it's about that movement, right? Naomi Osaka and then these NBA players coming out and talking about their mental illnesses is all about that, right? It's okay to be broken. And we're entering into a tough time. I mean, as the system implodes around us, where the broken people just aren't going to make it, right? You're not going to survive the changes that are coming if you're a broken person. You might be able to go to your Agenda 31 housing and whatever it is and accept, give up all your stuff and accept the temporary deal that the system wants to give you. But as that implodes, right, and things start to get more and more reals, the broken people just won't make it. Like, and not that, everybody's messed up a little bit, but you're going to have to reach up and connect to God and, figure out that the system is unnatural and it's ungodly and it disconnects you from your soul and, what's natural about you. It disconnects you from your higher, calling, your soul's purpose. It decimates the family, the natural, social system, the family, which is supposed to, and then the village-based, your local sort of village-based community that's supposed to be there supporting you and, all these things that make healthy, natural, high-functioning human beings, right? Disconnects you from your heart and your compassion, your empathy, and all these things that are your higher nature, the heartfulness meditation that I do. But anyways, so this story has finally come to an end. I wanted to show you this because, I wake up in the morning and I feed the cows and I let my puppers outside, depending on what's going on, if I'm the first one up or whatever it is, right? Depending on what's happening. And I, do some other things to get going. And then I make my chai and I come in here and I comb through various news media websites. And I usually have some things left over from the day before. And some of those things are celebrity related, like Page 6, which is a, sort of a part of the New York Post, which is sort of a kind of a rag, but it has funny headlines and good stuff. And depending on the day, there's usually one or two stories I might cover about celebrities or something from these, whatever it is, right? But there's a lot of stories I don't cover. There's a lot of stories that are just painful for me to even read the headline, right? Because they're so, stupid. I mean, just, and I thought I'd include this one because this one really, just look at the headline here. Is Jennifer Lopez wearing a bracelet Ben Affleck gave her in 2002? I don't know. Is she? Come on, I gotta know. Is that that bracelet? Is that a 2002 Ben Affleck bracelet she has on? Like, there's these headlines I go through every day. Mind-numbing. Like, I can't believe people care about this, right? Back in 2002, Ben Affleck gave Jennifer Lopez this bracelet, and she kept it through the A-Rod years because she secretly longed to get back with Ben Affleck because, A-Rod's no Ben Affleck. And then now she's displaying it on Instagram, and we got to know. Ben Affleck isn't the only one bringing back a sentimental accessory from the early Bennifer days. Jennifer Lopez, who's currently cruising around Europe with her on-again beau, appears to have pulled out a diamond Harry Winston bracelet the actor gifted her back in 2002. I got a He-Man story coming up, too. He-Man's become relevant. And then, I don't know, it goes on from there, right? There's the bracelet. Look, they got comparison. This is 2002 bracelet. This is 2021. And so, these are the kind of headlines I go through every day, and I'm like, oh, my God, people care about this, right? Honey. Yeah, honey. Jennifer Lopez is wearing a bracelet she got from Ben Affleck in 2002. No, it's true. No, it's happening. It's happening right now. She's wearing it. Like, it's not totally conclusive, but it appears it's a gift that he gave her back in 2002, and she's wearing it now. Like, yes, right now, from 2002, she's wearing it. Again, it's speculation at this point, but it's pretty conclusive. I mean, it looks like the same bracelet to me. I don't think there's any other explanation. Yeah, really important news. She's wearing it right now. It signifies so much. Oh yeah, and that blood work came back for the doctor, and I got diabetes. It's back. I stopped doing that for a while, but it's back. They have this thing with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez every day, right? This is, like these fake celebrity relationships they do for publicity and whatever else. And there's a website called Bennifer Tea. Let's see what this is about. It's Bennifer Tea, and it's all things Bennifer. There's a whole Twitter page devoted to them. Bennifer content. So Kevin Smith, a guy who makes really bad, superficial, self-conscious, crappy movies. He's made a lot of them. They consider him some sort of indie genius because of his low-budget movies that he first made that are sucky. And then he started to get bankrolled, and he made even worse movies. Has gotten control of He-Man, and so he got a Netflix deal to remake the comic book series He-Man. He-Man. He-Man sucks. Now, He-Man, one of my nephews got into this when he was a little kid. And this is back when I was in college. I was just probably turning in my early 20s. And I watched an episode or part of an episode with him because he used to watch this TV show. And I realized what they were doing. This is, early merch, right? This was the new sort of cable, when there was, cable TV was just starting to get big. And they had all these cable shows. And I realized that these shows were just there to sell merch, right? There was all these He-Man toys that were available that he got, for birthday and Christmas and things like this. And whatever the toy was, it played a role in these cartoons, right? And He-Man was, a really bad cartoon. Like really stupid, just, one of the worst, brain dead. The animation was poor, just not a good cartoon. But it was He-Man, right? Why Masters of the Universe Revelation has angered so many He-Man fans. Revelation? You pretentious, superficial never. You had the balls to call a He-Man reboot Revelation, like there's some sort of revelation to He-Man. And there is a revelation. The revelation is woke, and it pissed off a lot of He-Man fans because within the first episode, and I guess it was 2 6-part episodes, in the first 6, he kills off He-Man. And He-Man isn't a character in the next, 5 episodes. And so the He-Man, and it was really woke. So it featured, so I guess this guy, Kevin Smith, who kind of, sucks at making movies, why Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe series being review bombed by fans because he killed off He-Man, and the show's called He-Man. Kevin Smith made Netflix Masters of the Universe Revelation specifically to please He-Man fans. Some got mad anyway. Well, when you kill off the main character, Kevin Smith tells off toxic He-Man fans think Netflix series is too woke. Deal with it, he says. And so he swears and goes after them and says, of course He-Man's coming back. They wouldn't let me kill off their golden goat, right? Now, He-Man is a very macho kind of, He-Man. It's just, lowbrow and stupid. And he has a enemy named Skeletor. And Kevin Smith decided to take He-Man out of the first part. And He-Man comes back in the second part, right? And then he features He-Man's girlfriend. There's a girl character. And she and her, crew, and mostly, I guess, women, is this character who is looking very manly, becomes the central figure. And it's very woke, right? The whole series, he decided to put a woke spin on He-Man. He-Man, right? The ultimate in sort of like, the show is called He-Man, right? He features her, and it's, completely woke, and it just all these He-Man fans that wanted to see, He-Man.
I built a life of truth, away from magic. Now you want me to save magic?
It's about time that He-Man gets saved by a woman. Like, he's He-Man, he's always saving the women. It's time for He-Man to get saved. And she's pretty grumpy about it.
Yes, to save Eternia.
She's got some sort of woke do there, right? She had to get a woke do.
But the sword of power was destroyed.
Not destroyed. Divided.
Exactly. You need two swords, so Teela, I think that's his girlfriend's name, can have one. Like, why should He-Man be the only one with the sword of power? Like, the woman should also have the sword of power. Why should a He-Man alone have a sword of power? Isn't it time that the woman also has a sword of power? They both. It's like both need a sword of power. Where's Dog when you need him? Look at her save He-Man. He-Man needs saving. Save He-Man. He-Man needs to be saved.
For Eternia!
Look at her wield her erect sword at the... Look at her. Wielding her erect sword at the cameraman.
Still know the tune?
I don't know. Can I have my nuts back, please? He-Man wants his nuts back.
Some things you can never forget.
Masters of the Universe Revelation. Congratulations, Kevin Smith and Netflix. You've taken something that really sucked, was horrible, and you've made it worse. Like only you two can. So you can see just from that little trailer, I went back and grabbed that, why they reacted. The fans of He-Man got mad at him for making it completely woke. Masters of the Universe Revelation haters need to grow up, says Kevin Smith. Grow up, and you can see that this is He-Man when he's not He-Man. He's Prince, whatever it is, right? And, they've made He-Man get woke, and now this character is the central character, which is, inevitably going to happen. And so Kevin Smith made He-Man go woke, and then there was backlash. And that's 2021 more than anything else. So I went over to Netflix, and I thought I would, look at the show. I went to the latest episode. They're up to episode 5. And I'm giving this the full college try. I just, whatever. And so I fished through an episode, the last episode. You're welcome, because it's horrible, right? He-Man's a horrible show, and this is the woke version of He-Man, if you could imagine such a horrible thing. And He-Man is in some sort of heaven. Prince Adam, he's died. And then all of his crew has gone there for some reason to get his sword from him. Teela wants his sword.
If you want the sword, it's yours.
So he gives the sword to Teela. She takes his sword from him. She comes to have it and says, wait a minute. You didn't leave me your sword. He's dead. And she goes up to heaven and steal his sword away from him. You know, she has to emasculate him even in heaven now. You know, this woke culture. But here is the best scene. This is by far the best scene. Made me crack up here.
Didn't hurt me, Adam. You did. And I couldn't even scream at you for it because you were gone.
I died.
I died. This is great. She goes up to heaven, takes his sword, right? Hey, buddy, you forgot something. He goes to heaven, takes his sword, and then she bitches him out, right? Like, think about the cojones on this biatch, right? This woke biatch. You hurt me, Adam. You know, and I couldn't even get mad at you because you were dead. So I came up to heaven, and I could tell you that this is what Kevin Smith thinks healthy behavior in relationships is. These cucks, right, from these emasculated Hollywood cucks. She went up to heaven to ream him out, steal his sword, and yell at him for hurting her. He hurt so much, and I had to come up here and tell you in heaven, just so you know, Adam.
Yeah, and the rest of us had to live with it.
So there, Adam. Yes, you died. Sure, you died. But the rest of us had to live with it, and I couldn't even scream at you, Adam. Adam. Adam.
I just need to get back to Eternia with the Sword of Power.
Okay, whatever, Adam. Just give me your sword. Give me your frickin' sword, and I go back to Eternia. Right, Adam. Adam. And then this dude, he takes the sword and he makes it into two somehow, because they're going to have to share power. They got two, and he uses his Illuminati eye to charge the other sword. And then Tila takes the sword of power. She gets his sword of power.
I guess this is it.
That's all you got to say? You take a man's sword of power? You go up to heaven and you take the man's sword of power. You take your man's power sword, and I guess this is it. Is this what Lorena Bobbitt said, right? I guess this is it.
If you go with them, there is no coming back. This is your great reward.
So the dude from the Allstate commercials makes an appearance here. And, there's major plot flaws here. I mean, it's He-Man. But he lives in a place called Eternia, right? Eternity. And, they leave eternity and go to some sort of heaven, right? But you're in eternity already. This guy, Kevin Smith, he made this movie Dogma, which is one of the worst, most superficial, self-conscious, and stupid movies ever made, where he sort of was mocking religion and God and all these things in a way that, someone who thinks they're smart and they're not. But you don't have to make kids' movies stupid, right? Like, you don't have to, just because it's made for kids doesn't mean you can make it stupid and they'll accept it because kids don't care, right? Like, you have a place called Eternity, but there's also a heaven there. And now He-Man is going to leave. Prince Adam's going to leave this heaven, and he can't come back for some reason. So if he leaves, he's, giving up his shot at heaven.
I go where you go.
So this wonderful feminist woman comes up to heaven and steals this dude's sword of power and then yells at him for dying. And then he gives up heaven to go back with her. So immediately upon coming back, everyone thought Skeletor was dead and Adam was mourning Skeletor in heaven because I don't think he made it there. He immediately comes out as Baphomet, right? This Baphomet ram horns, right? There's a lot of Illuminati devil worshipping stuff here. I'm not going to get into it because, it's not the point of this video, but, Kevin Smith included all that stuff in there. So he gives up his sword and his power sword and heaven for his, biatch, his feminine biatch. He immediately returns to eternity and Skeletor emerges from a Baphomet's skull and cucks him and steals his sword and assumes the role of P-Man or whatever it is, right? And so, this is why fans are mad at Kevin Smith. Jonah Hill's new tattoo celebrates body positivity. And so there's a couple things about this. Here's the tattoo, because nothing says body positivity. Nothing says, hey, look at how happy I am with my body, than having some, ex-con biker draw a picture on it. Put graffiti on your body. It says body love, and it's giving you the devil's horns. Nothing says body love like devil's horns. And so there's another story here. About body love. Bachelorette Claire Crowley, no relation to Alistair, allegedly has breast plants removed. Now, I think I did a video about her. She had this fake interaction where some guy called her old or something. Remember, some drama thing on the Bachelorette. There she is post-surgery, here for the right reasons. And this is day 2. She's got a little blood going on there. And apparently, this is her Instagram page, right? She has a long, she's hugging the roses. Like, some fake photo, right? Everything's posed. Even in the hospital, everything's posed, full makeup, right? All these things. There are the implants in question, which she was displaying just 3 posts ago. And so apparently, this is the reason I'm covering this story here, is surgery is officially done. I'm on the road to healing. Crowley revealed in early July she was having her implants removed, saying that she'd been experiencing symptoms related to the implants, including rashes all over her body, swollen glands, a high white blood cell count, and a large packet of fluid behind one of the implants. Well, who wants to live with that, right? Like, you're putting a foreign material into your body, and her body's telling her, this thing is, her body's reacting like, there's something toxic in her body. And so she was, her body's like fighting an infection because there's something that shouldn't be inside your body, right? And then my body is fighting my implants. My body can't heal. My body is in fight mode constantly. Well, yeah, because that's what happens when you put something foreign into your body that doesn't belong there, right? This whole implant culture. I mean, it's just crazy. And, they're fake. Like, when people compliment you or you're showing them off, they're fake. That it's not you. Like, how can that feel good psychologically, right? I've talked about this with plastic surgery. You have to accept what you look like, I mean, yeah, if there's some sort of deformity or accident or something like that, yeah, certainly plastic surgery is a good thing. But it doesn't work, right? Most of it doesn't work. Everything looks fake, I mean, everything looks fake. And this is not you, right? This is, And on top of it, your body's like, get this fake crap out of you. Your body's rejecting the fake crap that's inside of you. And this is, this superficial culture that's out there, right? And this, bachelor nation culture they have out there. And all of it, having infection for years so that you can, pretend you look different than you actually look. I mean, this is, one of the downfalls of America. And so then you could have body love and throw up a couple of devil's horns. It's body love. So then we have JoJo Magoo. Somebody sent me this. This is the raw footage from 1991 when Joe Biden was being tough on crackheads. This was back when Joe Biden had his comb over. Like, he had less hair back then. He's not a clone, but he had less hair back then somehow. He had some implants or something.
Let's look at the facts. Since 1986, Congress has passed over 230 new or expanded penalties for drug and criminal offenses in this United States. 230 new penalties. And these penalties range from an automatic 5 years in jail for any person caught with a rock of crack cocaine, a piece of crack cocaine as small as a quarter. I don't have
Small as a quarter. So if you got a rock of crack cocaine as small as a quarter, he wants 5 years mandatory in jail.
Around here.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
you were doing crack at the places that I eat.
Yeah. Well, I not intentionally. I wasn't stalking you.
No.
He wasn't stalking you. He just liked smoking crack. He's got a big smile. You know, he had rocks of crack that were the size of a quarter.
a quarter with me, but if you visualize what one looks like, yeah, I do have a quarter. If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation.
You get no probation.
I feel like I learned a lot about crack, and I know that sounds weird, but you hear about it and you see it on TV shows and, you know, in the news every once in a while, but I learned how to get, I really think I could get it now, thanks to your book.
You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice.
No, but it is a very vivid and detailed description of what it feels like to use crack.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've not used crack, but I do feel like I understand it now. And
We've gone from there all the way up to saying, under the leadership of Senator Thurmond, and I'd like to suggest that I take some small credit for it myself as well, and others, the presiding officer, that there is now a death penalty. And we passed it a couple years ago. If you are a major drug dealer involved in the trafficking of drugs and murder results in your activities, you go to death. You go to death.
But crack brought me to a place that I'd never had been to before.
You go to death.
Both in terms of the high, to be completely honest, but absolutely as it relates to the low.
That there is now a death penalty. And we passed it a couple years ago. If you are a major drug dealer involved in the trafficking of drugs and murder results in your activities, you go to death.
it's like you finding a friend, a crack addict on the street who then moved into your house and you had this kind of great relationship with, other than the crack.
Yeah, other than the crack, right? And
a number of other severe penalties. We changed the law so that if you are arrested and you are a drug dealer, under our forfeiture statutes, the government can, take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction.
so many addicts are completely dehumanized. You know, Rhea is her name in the book, and she was a crack addict, but you know, she was a mother and a daughter. She was a friend. She didn't, and I don't think anybody chooses that life.
That you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. We have laws in the last several years where we don't allow judges discretion to sentence people. Flat time sentencing. You get caught, you go to jail.
Humanize people suffering from addiction. But also, I wrote the book, and more than anything, it's a love letter to the people that are loving someone that's struggling with addiction. Because it's so hard for them to understand why it is that their love just can't get through. Why it is that if they just loved them more, that somehow they would be able to cure them. And the one thing that I found to be more powerful than the most powerful love I knew, which is the love of my family, was my addiction. And I hope that this is provides some people with some real hope that if they're just persistent and they continue, that when that person's ready to reach for that love, maybe they'll be able to find their way out of that deep, dark hole. That
Yeah, boy, was your dad persistent. I mean, very, very persistent.
Crack cocaine, no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1. We passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years.
So this is CNN, you know, where Chris Cuomo works. I was eating my lunch in the middle of editing the video. I was at the He-Man section. And then I saw that this happened, that there is a report from the Attorney General of New York, and it is saying that Cuomo did sexually harass various women. The report came in, an independent report. Remember how much they pimped Andrew Cuomo out with his brother Chris Cuomo on CNN, and they turned him into a hero and how spectacular he was. And all the media, it wasn't just CNN, but all of them, glorified this guy. And when you're that wrong about a person, I mean, the harassment stuff is bad, but the putting elderly people back in nursing homes or putting sick people who are still contagious in nursing homes, which resulted in 9,000 additional deaths when this guy was being celebrated as a hero, was, manslaughter. I mean, that's criminal. And so remember how much they pimped this guy out, particularly here, but all over the mainstream media. And here's the report.
And the intensity of this investigation, and yet he has been, saying that he is not going to go anywhere.
Right. Again, the burden is on him now to respond. Ann Clark, one of the independent investigators, said that the governor admitted some of this behavior, took issues with some of the context or the seriousness level of it, and disputed parts of it as well during the 11-hour interview with these investigators. Again, we're waiting for the response from the governor of New York and other important players. Up next from us, much more on this breaking news. The investigation concludes Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women.
All these mainstream media outlets that promoted Cuomo as a hero aren't going to do anything. They're not going to admit anything, like how badly they got fooled or how badly they got exposed as being shills for someone. They all knew this stuff was, everyone knew what kind of person he was, right? Like they're told, don't make this guy a hero, and they all know the kind of people they are. And they're just given orders, and they go out and say, all right, give this guy a positive narrative. This is how bad the mainstream media is. Like the mainstream media shouldn't be watched by anybody based in their coverage of Andrew Cuomo and now what's coming out about him here and, the disgrace he ends up being, right? And now they're like, all right, we've been told to make him into a disgrace, right? Like you guys don't have the ability to read people. And I mean, you're interacting with these guys at a different level. And Chris Cuomo was his brother. They all knew what kind of guy he was. Like they all knew this stuff, but they made him a hero anyway. And now that's coming out that he's not a hero. He's actually, some sort of a, scoundrel, right? But I mean, also the stuff with the COVID. And I mean, they're just, there's no sense of them taking any responsibility for this.
Jones, Congressman, thank you for your time on this day. I anticipated we were going to have a different conversation, but we'll have that another day. The Democratic governor of New York, 11 women, painstaking detail, horrific details laid out by the two independent lawyers who investigated this. Do you believe Andrew Cuomo can stay in office?
No. I think the governor's conduct is disqualifying, and it's why so many Democratic members of the New York congressional delegation and the state legislature called on him to resign several months ago.
So again, this is not about Andrew Cuomo because, he's done anyway. This is about his brother, and the conflict of interest. This is about CNN and MSNBC and all the mainstream media outlets and so many celebrities making this guy a hero, and they're all accountable for this, right? They promoted something that they knew, right? They know each other on a personal level, and they have inside information. And you could see the guy was just the way he's just narcissistic and just like all these guys, right? And they're calling on Biden to demand his resignation. And JoJo Magoo has such a history being a snoozler and a groper, which CNN covered in 2015, right? I mean, there are, this is an admission by mainstream media that they suck. I'll maybe come back and cover this more, I don't know, tomorrow or something like this. But the initial, onus is on the media for propping them up. Like, if you get fooled that bad, then how can you be, telling people the so-called truth? How can you be reporting things like you're good at reporting and you know things, right? Like, how can you be a truth teller when you got rolled this bad, right? When they didn't just make Cuomo like a good guy, they made him a hero. They were talking about him as being the real president. You can go back and see the compilations. People have put together compilations of these mainstream media people slathering all over Cuomo and talking about what great a person he was. And now, there's no, oh yeah, we were wrong on an epic level. There's so many times they're wrong and they just keep on reporting the news like, like nobody notices, right? Like how bad they suck. I don't really have much more to add to this. I got off track a little bit when I went all in on He-Man. And then I dropped this Cuomo thing in at the end. But if you think about everything I cover here, that the lies, it's a big difference between lying and believing your own lies, right? Where, someone starts to create an imaginary world. And this isn't, things that humans have to do, but we've done it collectively and individually, where people create an imaginary world about themselves, right? They see themselves outside, or they, create a fantasy version of themselves, but inside, people are nightmares, right? People are, bad people. They're villains, but they think of themselves as the hero. Cuomo fits into this category, but everybody, right? And the media themselves and everything else. And it becomes just all this illusion, all these lies, all these, branded versions of people and what they are in the inside. I mean, this is what I talk about substantially here, because the heartfulness system of meditation exclusively deals with the inside. It deals with somebody's inside, where the person themselves goes inside and connects to God and thinks about God in their heart, right? Meditates, feels God in their heart. But also when you look inside yourself in this way, you're going to see things in a different way. And when your heart becomes more of a, you get more in tune with your heart, when you say something that hurts somebody else's feelings, this happens, after you start practicing heartfulness for a little bit, you feel pain in your own heart. Like if you hurt somebody else's heart, you feel it in your own heart. And you're like, oh, that sucked. And it makes you feel bad because you feel the pain that you've caused somebody else, right? I mean, it's something where, it just curbs your behavior because you really feel how your words or whatever affect other people. I mean, it's substantial, and a substantial experience as you become more sensitive. And you start seeing yourself as you really are. Like your illusion starts coming down, and you start seeing some of the things you do wrong, and, you realize, hey, I just told a lie. Like, people lie all the time and then just don't think about it. People behave badly and then don't, think about what they just did. They just do it and move on to something else, and they don't, feel the pain and, what's happened inside of themselves, what their soul and God feels like in terms of their actions or just who they are as a person. And then you're like, oh, I got to get better. Like I got to get rid of this stuff. And that's where the cleaning aspect of the heartfulness system comes in, and the transmission, which helps purify a person and gives them a feeling of what they could be, like what they could feel like all the time and how they could make others feel if they reach the full potential of their spiritual elevation. And so the opposite of that, the reason the heartfulness system is here, because the opposite is true. People are disconnected from what they really are inside. They create, illusionary stuff outside, whether it's plastic surgery, whether it's wealth, their possessions, whether it's their resume, and they show everyone what a great person they are. Look, I accomplished this. Look, I own this. I look at my nice fancy car. I'm not a piece of crap. Look at the car I own, right? Look at the house I own. Look at the clothes I'm dressed in. look at my fake bosoms, right? You know, whatever it is, right? People are like, I'm not a bad person. Look at how, you know, great I am, right? And so they try to, you know, bedazzle the external part of themselves, right? This is what they've done with Biden and Cuomo. You know, they demonize Trump and they bedazzle Biden and Cuomo, and then Cuomo turns out to be a real piece of crap, and then they just pretend like they never said anything, like they never said how great the guy this is, right? That's because the lies and the illusion have gotten so bad and there's no rules anymore, and people just say, all right, you know, we'll just pretend like we never put this guy up on a pedestal. It's not our fault. Like, you know, we'll just pretend it's all his fault, right? And make it just about what a horrible person Cuomo is. He went from a hero to a goat, you know, within a year. And the mainstream media, they're reliving so much of the past. So much of their stories now are about what Trump did and what Cuomo did. And, you know, they just cover like 2020 like it's still 2020. We haven't moved on and forward in any way. And, of course, all of JoJo's past has been scrubbed, right? And I talked about this yesterday. You know, these lies. It's just, you know, so much lies, and people believe their own lies, and they believe their brand, and they believe their own hype. And then, you know, reality starts to set in. They rearrange events and memories, and they don't look inside and see what's really inside themselves. And the apocalypse is, you know, bringing the truth to light, right? This idea of obscurantism, the end of the illusion. This happened so much in 2020 with celebrities. Remember them flipping out because they didn't have their audience to feed on anymore. Remember, all the celebrities are just freaking out, and, you know, and all this stuff about celebrating the broken, all these things. And so that illusion is coming to an end. And with it, the system, which is an illusionary system, has to go as well, which sucks because all of us are dependent on that illusion, on the beastly system. I mean, it sucks in a material way, but it's, you know, good and truthful. It's honest, and it's what needs to happen. And the sad part is that most people just believe everything's fine. Most people just believe that, you know, they believe the illusion. They believe the hype. They believe all of it, right? You see the sheeple now. They're just, you know, going along with the official story, and they don't want to, you know, even conceive of what we see. Like, we only see a small part of it. Like, we think we see it all, but we only see a small part of how bad it really is. Like, if we really knew, it would be so stressful. And there's so much, it's overwhelming. Like, I know a lot more than most people because I have been doing this for a while. I mean, I let most of it go. I just let it flow through me. And, of course, I have the positive. I have the future. I have the transmission, the cleaning I receive from the Heartfulness meditation, and the prophecies that this needs to happen. Like, there's going to be the end of a bad thing to begin a better thing, right? And so, you know, I have all those things. And still, I mean, you know, it would be completely overwhelming if I thought about all of it all the time. You know, or even registered it. It's not that it's just fake, it's also bad, right? It's negative. It's going away from the will of God, and it's plunging into the darkness. And what sucks about it is that, you know, there's a major mess to clean up here. It isn't like there can be a clean, okay, this thing ended, right? This really bad thing. It's like getting out of a real bad divorce and then immediately getting into a positive relationship. And, you know, the years of all the mess that your life has become because of your previous relationship, right? Like, you have to, you know, make amends, and there's things that need to be cleaned up. There's a mess here that needs to be cleaned up, and there's going to be consequences for the system and the crashing of the illusion. And then how messed up people are. Like, people are so, you know, crazy and delusional. And so when it, you know, I mean, there's going to be a bad time. Like, that's inevitable. There's no getting around that. I think everyone can see it. Everyone's dreading it. But I think people think it's a lot better than it actually is. I think people don't realize the levels of just negativity and all of it that you're experiencing because of the current system. And even though we're dependent on that system, and it's, you know, it's going to suck a little bit when it goes, I think people will feel a lot better than they originally thought. There'll be a, you know, collective sigh of relief. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.